Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Welcome to Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy. For too long now, our generally perceived poorly educated electorate have fallen victim to the cheap and inferior propaganda of those seeking to hold others captive under the guise of democracy. Gladly, the CDGG uses edification to help to actively pursue a sustainable approach to reorient our people towards the importance of electing and selecting people of good character to public life. Through edification, we will highlight the importance of education appropriate to our development, proper health care and facilities as our right, respect for law and order, not to mention upgrading our people's thinking so they could become qualified participants in the democratic process to their advantage. After all, Grenada's national constitution makes allowances for the ideal of free men to enjoy freedom from fear and want, which can be best achieved if conditions are created whereby everyone may enjoy his economic, social and political, civil and cultural rights.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Join us, Grenada, as we continue to promote a legacy of excellence through the Pure Grenada Excellence Champion Training Program. Over 1,000 Grenadians have been trained. Food, transportation, service industries, and other frontline workers don't want to miss out on this one. Learn more at www.puregrenada.com/excellence champion or call GTA head office at 440-2001. Remember, excellence begins with me. Excellence ends with all our represent for 7.
Training sessions will resume on mainland Grenada from 9th to 13th October and 23rd to 27th October, and November 6th to 10th and 20th to 24th, 2023, in this year of transformation for service in Grenada. I am Eddie Frederick, a proud partner to this GTA Pure Grenada Excellence Champion Program. Get registered and come on in. You'll never think the same again.
We represent 47 Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all. Eddie Frederick has got it.
Wonderful, wonderful, folks. Wonderful. It's such a plum pleasing pleasure to be with you once more. So, welcome. Open season continues on Edification. And of course, this being our second Sunday in October, a month to be reminded that we are still in the hurricane season and must take nothing, absolutely nothing for granted. So, my invitation to you today is to pull up your chair, sound the alarm as loudly as you can, and tell more people. Come in and absorb the boldness and factual sharing available each week. Thanks for identifying yourselves and announcing your presence on the live while you share. Remember, hit the like, heart, care, follow, and even comment as usual to make this program as interactive as you usually do. We are happy to have you, so welcome. I'm sure you see my new addition. This is, of course, courtesy Mecca Print. Yeah, we have a little internet buffering going on today, it would appear. But anyhow, be that as it may, we will still continue. But Mecca Print is doing some wonderful work down at the GCNA complex. So Give them a hit, folks. Give them a look up. Mecca print. Mecca. You know, I invite you folks to, who regularly tune in, and you, of course, who have yet to follow my Eddie Frederick page on Facebook and my channel on YouTube, to do so that you're in, like all the others who enjoy unfettered access at their convenience. Our topic today, very, very provocative. Do not allow intractable poverty to take you over. You must break off your love affair with poverty. Isn't it lamentable, really lamentable, how so many of us refuse to realize that poverty is a choice that we make when we allow our circumstance or even our circumstances to dictate the pace for our very lives, that only one that we've got. Each of us was born to break that cycle of poverty in our families. What a pity only a few of us know this and act on it. We have to make a commitment to position ourselves for proper preparation for fare that we will never start. But more importantly, we have to become and remain consistent in order to finish that important task of breaking the cycle of poverty. So no one can come and farm any of us for their own political existence ever again. You see, they use the poor and vulnerable as a vote farm to be harvested. They harvest every election to keep them in power while they keep you down receiving crumbs. But I'll tell you a little bit more about that a little later on. You see, folks, the development of the poor and vulnerable among us was deliberately started, that whole segment of the population, and encouraged by the man who established them, as I said, as a voting farm from which he could be insulated in office to cream off the top and deliver crumbs to them while keeping them poor, vulnerable, and dunce over the many years. Now that has to be a wicked man. And when I call him by his right name, all you vex, some of you vex, he is nothing but an old nastiness, creating this poor and vulnerable class, making sure the numbers are plentiful so they can insulate him and keep him in office while he does nothing good for the nation. Folks, wake up, because just now a lot of us will start identifying you. When we see you, just call you by your right name yourself. Poor, dunce, and vulnerable. You have to come out of that nonsense. Each and every one of you was born to break that cycle of poverty in your family. That vexing reality is what inspires today's topic. Do not allow intractable poverty to take you over. You must break off your love affair with poverty. You see, many members of our society seem hell-bent on remaining in chains by insisting on being ignorant. They swallow greedily any lie that flatters them, but they sip little by little at a truth they find bitter. You see, like this, they will sip a little at it. They will get vexed who he think he is, and then. Well, he was a poor guy born in abject poverty. But look at him now. He rich, but he not poor. He not poor and vulnerable and dunce to top it off. Hell no. He has grown. He has developed. And the same opportunities are available to you, my dear friends. You see, even though what might be instructive to you and good for you to hear, you don't want to hear it. You want the old nastiness who has equity and a lot of riches to keep you poor, dunce, and stupid. Folks, cut it out. So this edition of Edification 186 intends to go there, everywhere, in true vintage Eddie style, to enlighten you, so you too can begin to break that cycle of poverty in your own lives. Let us look at some of the root causes of poverty now. You know, the topping the list is corruption. Corruption is the main cause of intractable, you know, the poverty that can't go away. You see, corruption is encouraged by the people's lack of knowledge, ignorance, lack of good skills, and laziness, characterized by dependency thinking. 2, reliance on assistance from others perpetually. You just sit down there and you're waiting for a handout. You're waiting for a handout. So what am I going to make you? What is that going to make you? No wonder the old nastiness told his other cohorts of elected MPs, don't give all you nothing when you come crying trouble for them. You know why he tell them that? Because all you go feel it in all your stomach and you're going to hate the new administration even more. So that's going to make him come back. You see how we studying them and not you? But all you're still lining up behind that old nastiness who is only perpetuating reliance on assistance from him perpetually. You know the little crumbs you get? Passivity is the third one. People just going with the flow and saying, what you gonna do? You know them kind of people? We have a lot of them. Grenada is a factory for them. What you gonna do? Well, so it is. The fourth area, folks, is lack of interest in a good standard of living and quality of life. Folks, if you're interested in that, you do what you must. You do what it takes to break that cycle of poverty and get out of the grasp of the old nastiness. You see, too many of our people believe how they live is how life is meant to be lived. And so they show up late to see what is left over for them and omit to be present otherwise because of the discipline involved in doing what they must to lift themselves out of poverty to enjoy a good life. You see, the reason why as little as only 5 out of every 1,000 people rise up to be exceptional at what they do in this life is because they are the few who are willing to do what it takes to stand out. You see, we were born to stand out, you know, folks, not to fit in. Are you part of a group of people, whether at work or in social life, who watch certain few rise up and receive their exceptional blessings? You have to be careful not to hate on them because some of these same few could be the generous ones that through them blessings can be added to you. That is why you need to curb your enthusiasm in the area of your jealousy, your malice, and your envy, because you can truncate your own blessings in return. Too many of this goes on ad nauseum here in Grenada because of the pettiness of so many of you. Too many of you like to know who taking who is being taken by who. It's just rubbish talk, bouncing low, drain talk. And you're not living good, but your life is spent as soon as you wake to the time you sleep, minding people business. Too much of this goes on in Grenada. No wonder among you look like your life look like it's going nowhere and getting there in a hurry because you're minding other people business too goddamn much. Too many of you hate on people that God appointed to bless you, and you end up losing out big times. Big times. Folks, over the years, I have forged, quote unquote, I have to call them associations over the years with people. Right. But you're trying with it. You're trying with it. And when you're finally fed up with all this trying, all this effort, because you're not supposed to be fighting up to maintain a relationship with nobody. Anytime you stop call or you stop text, nothing comes back. But then they tell people you're strange. Then is when you realize you were the only one investing in the relationship. They had no interest. But you just stop communicating. You is the funny, you hear me now? You is the funny one. Do not allow intractable poverty to take you over. You must break off your love affair with poverty. Folks, Grenada has become a vexing environment in which to live. Too many goddamn fakes walking around, having a problem with real people. Hello? Real people who drop it as it needs to be dropped. So you know where you stand with them. But they want to choreograph you. So you tell them what they want to hear. Not by me. That is why every time I'm finished with what I'm doing, supermarket, bank, wherever, appointments, wherever, back home, Miss Safe. Too much small talk. Some of you, hello, not even genuine. You could feel it. You could just feel it. No focus, no purpose in life. Let's take a break and we'll come back. I tell you, I promise you some fire today, and I am making no joke. Plenty fire.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
Join us, Grenada, as we continue to promote a legacy of excellence through the Pure Grenada Excellence Champion Training Program. Over 1,000 Grenadians have been trained. Food, transportation, service industries, and other frontline workers don't want to miss out on this one. Learn more at www.puregrenada.com/excellence champion or call GTA head office at 440-2001. Remember, excellence begins with me. Excellence ends with all our represent 47
Training sessions will resume on mainland Grenada from 9th to 13th October and 23rd to 27th October and November 6th to 10th and 20th to 24th, 2023 in this year of transformation for service in Grenada. I am Eddie Frederick, a proud partner to this GTA Pure Grenada Excellence Champion Program. Get registered and come on in. You'll never think the same again.
We represent 47
Hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, wonderful, folks. We have some more onions to fry. And just before I actually get into the second segment, let me welcome those of you who are just coming in. Welcome, welcome. Of course, this one is going to be so fiery. Come on, hit that share button. Keep hitting it because we have to get as many people edified on this bright and wonderful Sunday. You notice things are getting a little cooler now, which is much better. Still hot, but a little cooler. I want to just wish our dear Prime Minister happy birthday today. Today, of course, he's still under 50. He's not an old fart touching 80 and still want to linger around the precincts of power. He's just a decent Mitchell that has a plan and a purpose for him. It is not to con people. It is not to hide files away from the system, which is a crime, which is a crime. And we have to deal with that crime, if at all it is found out to be that way. Good. I also want to talk to You remember I told you sometime in January I was involved in a hit and run accident with some little miscreant who hit and take off. Well, of course, we caught him. The police was able to deal with that. Well, the case came up Friday gone. This last weekend, this weekend here. And I went to the court. My daughter being my chief witness with me, both of us in tow. So we went to the court. And Derek Sylvester, the lawyer, and of course the president of the Grenada Bar Association, was very kind to lead my case for me before the traffic court's magistrate. My God, you know, it's so interesting. When I walked into that court, I felt a sense, not of me, but a sense of in chargeness. The magistrate is in charge of her court. Wow! I looked at the proceedings and I say, wow, there's a lot of hope for this country. The matter was adjourned, needless to say, in quick order, and a very, very certain manner too. And you know what prompted me to make this comment today? My daughter, when we were walking up the hill to go collect the car to leave, you know what my daughter said to me? Dad, but that judge, she didn't know he was a magistrate, that judge is so young to be so in charge. He says you could see the court belongs to her. Wow. I'm proud of her. I wonder if I didn't go to convent with her. I said, no. I'm sure you would not have gone to convent with her. One, she's older than you, but she looks good for her age for you to be thinking that she's young like you. And two, she would have gone to school in Carriacou, so not with you at all. Okay. She says that lady is sitting in her purpose. And you know who that is? Her worship, Kendra Mathurin Stewart. I am so happy to bring this to you, members of the public today, for you to understand at times when people deviate from their purpose, we tend to have a different view of them. But my daughter, who is not political like me and paying attention to all the shenanigans of life and whatnot in terms of the social structure of the country and that sort of thing. Oh, no. But she looked at her and her first impression is this lady is sitting in her purpose. Isn't that beautiful to hear, folks? And I endorse that 100%. And you know what? Aunts may bring the news for me, but great things lie ahead for Kendra Mathurin Stewart, her worship. I really wish her the best in her new position as a magistrate in Grenada. Enough said on that. Folks, of course, we know it's the birthday of our Prime Minister, our beloved Prime Minister. Beloved. One with vision, one with focus, one with decency, one when we see them out there in Qatar or Azerbaijan or wherever they go, United Nations, we could be a proud nation once more. We're not just seeing a bad spirit, a con man, a old crook. We're not seeing that, we're not feeling that kind of energy and that frequency. We're feeling a good vibe, as if we're back in business. Congratulations. Come on. Let me see you wishing our Prime Minister a happy birthday today, and Godspeed and good health and strength and God's guidance to take him through so that he could rescue Grenada from the old nastiness, the grip that the old nastiness has placed on this country and put some bad spirits all around the place. But thank God, good spirits abound also. And we shall stand in the gap to clean up this goddamn dirty place. Yes, I said it. You see, we need some more real people in this place. God knows I could do with some help. We need some real people, call it as it is, Too much nastiness abounding in this lovely place, beautiful place. The people are a mismatch for it. Just wickedness. Wickedness all the way a ton. Poor attitude. People begging, looking for living, looking for life. You know, I mean, come on. You were born to break the cycle of poverty in your family. But you cannot do it while sitting down there with your hand outstretched looking for something. Go and work. Some of you making noise about $350 to pay for a home. Could you imagine that? $350 a month. Well, let's put it this way. I'm glad that the housing authority is not going to be the place to just hand you key anymore. Go in the bank and go in the credit union. Raise your $70,000 for your $200,000 value apartment, which means you have an equity of $130,000 before you even start. And if you cannot afford $350 a month to live in a decent place, then you're not supposed to be living there. Because it is quite obvious anybody who fall under that $350 threshold per month in affordability will not be a good candidate to live in an environment like that. But the only how you could qualify yourself to at least be able to pay $350 is get your lazy backsides up and go and find something to do and stop this dependency syndrome nonsense. This poor, vulnerable, and dunce stupidness that has to stop. And somebody has got to tell you about it. Because you and I know somebody that cannot afford $350 is going to be waiting for the decent few who could afford it to go to work, to go and break their place and thief down the thing. That kind of people gonna be selling weed and all kind of thing inside the people place. So go and clean up your whole head. Remember I tell you Grenada need a washout, a purge. I told you all this freeness. Go and drink some Sene and take your purge before you can be integrated again. Because the days for freeness, this is order and structure now. This is the time for order and structure in your life. A major purge is needed. All you lumpens. Go in Victoria or Diamond or wherever they call the place up there. Go up there. Or go in Happy Hill and Shenda. Big Jogozo in the middle of a whole ghetto. And living there and happy to be in charge. And would not even give the people around you a hand up so that they can come up to your level. But you want to say you're in charge. In charge of what? You want to turn Grenada into Haiti or a ghetto? Joke you're making. Stay in your own hole where you belong. And there's some more things are coming to tell you all about that old nastiness just now, you know. Could you imagine all this sharing every week and the biography of the thief ain't come out yet, you know? The edited version, the hybrid version, ain't even come out yet. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Now I saw under the post of whoever it is that was showing this lovely video of, you know, the housing, the place now that they're giving for rent, or not rent to own, of course, the various houses. Some people are just inherently negative. One person had to talk about the height of the cupboard. The people that live in where they live in now, you think they care about height of cupboard? And there's somebody that is not even qualified for one of these places that are talking about height of cupboard. What wrong with some of these old lumpen in this country? Nice thing, you see a nice thing, buy a little, if you can buy a ladder, a little step ladder, put a block on the ground and stand up on it and go in the cupboard. Because I'm sure it would be better than where you live in now. All these minor nonsense. Anyhow, welcome back, folks. All of you haters out there must know that it takes courage to be successful. It is far easier not to be successful, as is evidenced all around us. Misery will always have loads of company, as we can see with the many miserable lives who hang out with one another and continue to infect each other with no good results. Folks, social media exposes all haters every day and by the minute. If you don't want to make waves, be mediocre, be average and fit in. When you do this, you become sitting ducks for con men and con women to rise up to lead you and keep you poor, vulnerable, and dunce. So your lack of zeal and energy for yourself could serve them. You see, before you know it, you become absorbed as part of the voting farm established since day one on June 20th, 1995, which grew exponentially over the period to just around 30,000 poor, vulnerable, and dunce supporters, enablers, parasites, suckers, greedy, and vultures. I have no apologies to make, because that's where you fall. You see, when you don't want to dress like them, walk like them, talk crap like them, write gibberish like them, act like bears like them, eat a food like them, go where they go, think like they don't think, do what they do. And once you refuse to neutralize your uniqueness, they come for you on social media because their level of misery needs more company to survive and thrive and keep the vote farm of the old nastiness alive. We have to break that spell, folks, with courage. Because you know what they say? One man with courage is a majority. It takes courage to be different, folks. It takes courage to go where you've never gone before. It takes courage to be successful. It takes courage to win. Numbskulls and bears don't talk about people that don't win. When you're a winner, bears and dunce people will always talk about you. When you're a winner, they must just have the courage to keep winning, so you give them more things to talk about. Remember, for people to try to pull you down, they have to be under you, which means you're already on top. In a recent interview, folks, Oprah was asked, why is America in a happiness slump? But the answer was very instructive even for our nation, because Grenada is in a happiness slump. Her answer says, we're currently experiencing a happiness deficit in the lives of people, because you see, people are looking at what other people are doing on social media. They're looking at how people live their lives on social media, and they're feeling envy about that, not realizing it's a whole wheelbarrow of fakeness. She laments that envy is the great destroyer, a happiness killer. We all should know that any time we are looking at anything else with envy, we have already killed our own happiness or ability to be happy in that moment and moments to come. Envy is a direct byproduct, folks, of dunceness. And with dunceness being so pervasive in and over Grenada, envy will be prevalent. It's so sad. So sad. In the scheme of things, folks, lots of people do not realize that social media mirrors their habits and customs. Future employers look to see who you are, and they form an opinion of you by what gets your attention, what you comment on, what you like, what you share, what you are embroiled in. be careful what you post on social media too. Not because it is trending. You have to publish an opinion about it. If a bank is going to invest in a project that you bring to them, or if you are going to apply for a certain job in a certain place at a certain level, folks, you will be checked out on social media. Trust me, that's just the way it is. It's basic due diligence. So you will be checked out on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. Social media mirrors you to the world and exposes your character and credibility or lack thereof. You see, if you fail that easy test, you are doomed. Remember, things in the stratosphere do not go away easily. Always take care of your social media, folks, which means stop posting and associating otherwise with crap, stupidness, because you're only showing up dunceness. I can hear some of you saying, maybe that is why I did not get the job. Maybe that is why I didn't get a loan. Maybe that's why I didn't get the business opportunity. Maybe that's why I didn't get a scholarship. Oh my God. Well, hear me now. Yes, that's why. You see, y'all are your biggest enemies. A lot of Grenadians need protection from themselves. Goodly folks, don't stop growing because of the attacks launched against you. The attacks are not worthy to be compared to the glory that shall be revealed in you. Don't stay down low to make other people comfortable. Don't diminish yourself so that you make them comfortable. Hell no. Their comfort is not your responsibility. Go ahead and make them uncomfortable and let them make up whatever they want to say about you. While you are eating and living well, they will be scrambling and catching hell. God is always getting ready to increase the influence of anyone with courage. Don't you realize that you can tell who can grow with you and who can go with you and who gets uncomfortable as you grow? Come on, be conscious, pay attention. Stay the course and remain on your path to success, which demands 6 things of you. First of all, hard work. Don't believe in luck, even though it rarely takes place when opportunity meets preparedness. Believe in hard work. 2, patience. If you are losing the patience, then you are losing the battle. 3, sacrifice. If you don't sacrifice for what you want, then what you want becomes the sacrifice. 4, consistency. Consistency is what transforms average into excellence. 5, discipline, folks. Motivation gets you going, but discipline keeps you growing. And 6, self-confidence. Confidence is not, they will like me. No. Confidence is, I will be fine, even if they don't like me. You see, the most important thing in the world is what you believe about yourself. From the time I learned that God is in me and works through me, my thinking changed. Too many people do not want to change their thinking and their minds, and hence they continue to be used as pawns by the old nastiness and his brigands. People want to change everything but themselves. And that is precisely why the more things change around them is the more things remain the same for them. When you get into your mind, your own mind, that is, and you get a hold of your own self, you'll be surprised, then God, the mastermind in you, will lead you and guide you to tell you what to do. You see everywhere in the Bible that many of you love to quote and quote, tell you to believe. It means believe in yourself. Believe in the power of God in you. When the Bible says believe in the Son of God, that's you. It means believe in yourself. So you see where this indomitable spirit comes from. Not from religion. The religion we're getting to find out is a sham. Total rubbish for the most part. Do not allow intractable poverty to take you over. You must break off your love affair with poverty. And you can only do that by taking stock of yourself and getting up and getting out and going and do something about it. You see, an idea is like a pin, folks. When you sit on a pin, what do? Oops, you jump. Or when you get an idea, you're supposed to jump at it. Go and turn it into reality. Let's take a little break and we'll come back. More fire coming up.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
Join us, Grenada, as we continue to promote a legacy of excellence through the Pure Grenada Excellence Champion Training Program. Over 1,000 Grenadians have been trained. Food, transportation, service industries, and other frontline workers who don't want to miss out on this one. Learn more at www.puregrenada.com/excellence champion or call GTA head office at 440-2001. Remember, excellence begins with me. Excellence ends with all our
Training sessions will resume on mainland Grenada from 9th to 13th October and 23rd to 27th October and November 6th to 10th and 20th to 24th, 2023, in this year of transformation for service in Grenada. I am Eddie Frederick, a proud partner to this GTA Pure Grenada Excellence Champion Program. Get registered and come on in. You'll never think the same again.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, wonderful. Welcome back, folks. Welcome back. Now, we are seeing a familiar brand of politics lingering around Grenada, which, if our people do not reject, will take us nowhere as we have been taken over the period 1995 to 2022 for certain. This politics of spite and vituperations has us where we are with a swollen population of poor and vulnerable in the strictest sense of the word, in every stratum of our society. Folks, you know what is bewildering about this whole thing? The thing is so sad that the people who they seem to be enjoying being called poor and vulnerable are conditioned to think they have to live so till they're dead, you know, not realizing that all people like me sleep on ground, had one suit of clothing, organized school clothes, the one shirt and the one pants. And when you have to go to your friend's birthday party on a Sunday or the weekend, you have to dress in your school clothes because that's the only organized suit of clothing you had. Huh? Some of them don't even have that experience. But we came out of it. But they are made by that old nastiness to feel that they are doomed, celebrating them. But I'll tell you something, folks. Grenadians have had their share of perpetual lack on account of the poor thinking of our so-called leaders, and more so from one in particular, that old nastiness, who has been in office for most of our 50 years of national independence. The middle class has all but disappeared, with the swollen numbers relegated to poor and vulnerable, for the most part under the watch of an administration that governed the affairs of the nation, riddled with scandal and corruption. Regardless of how many of the core supporters of Gary remain poor and underprivileged, you have to give him kudos for his attempt to lift them out of their depraved state upon rising to power back in the 50s. Of course, the main area of earning back then was agriculture. Needless to say, the thinking needed to shift and took generations to do so, but at a slower rate than could be appreciated. But you know, according to Reginald Lord, a former local labor commissioner, in a missive first shared at a session with TAMCC students, and recently shared on the heels of the new administration's recent address of the minimum wage here in Grenada, quote, if you look at 1950 to 51, one must agree that Sir Eric Matthew Gary scored a major century in getting wage increases for agricultural workers with his union. This was a major social shift in our society, which was predominantly agricultural back then. These workers invested in their children by way of skills, academic, and travel to places like England, Trinidad, Aruba, Guyana, the US, etc. Parents then were always struggling to upgrade themselves because no one wanted to be called poor and vulnerable. They had pride. They bought lands wherever available to sustain their families. No wonder Grenada has the best land tenure structure in the English-speaking Caribbean. The communities worked together in maroon so that the bar for all could be raised. Roughly 30 years later, the children of these agri-workers of the 50s, they thought that Gary's vision was obsolete and started a movement and move aggressively to take government into their own hands. Poor and vulnerable was never used during the process. They had pride. All I could remember back then is that education was a right, skill set was encouraged, and promotion of national pride became the order of the day. Well, could somebody please tell me that poor and vulnerable were promoted as an industry? What is the genesis? Look back from since 1950. Major attempts were made by the policymakers to empower Grenadians. There must be conversation on this. Poor and vulnerable mantra touted because this is only belittling the citizens of this country. No one could have called agricultural workers poor and vulnerable after 1951 because they invested in their children. Personally, I think it's a mentality, unquote. Isn't that a sterling delivery that Reginald Lord made to TAMCC students? Very, very sterling delivery indeed. Folks, every time that beast, that old creature come to tell all you about poor and vulnerable, you should run him out of tongue. He's too wicked to take pride in calling you poor and vulnerable and encouraging you to stay dunce and stupid because he wants to keep his vote farm alive so that when election time come, he could harvest votes. He not studying you. I am so happy that people are being incensed by this nonsense touted by Grenada's main con man, the old nastiness with his expired and irrelevant thinking. And Gary came to political power. He was 29 years of age, folks. When he was overthrown, he was 57, 58, with lots of vim and vigor in him still. The children of his supporters thought his tenure was stale, his ideas spent, and Gary deserved better, Grenada rather deserved better leadership based on vision for a strong and healthy future in the socio-economic sense of things, and started their movement to successfully replace him. Of course, they chose a different avenue. After this important reality of our journey as a nation, we are where we are, with quite a substantial number of our people being satisfied to encourage a nearly 80-year-old nastiness of a con man around the corridors of our political life or politics, wanting to offer himself to active leadership again. You can see some of you are cuss. Young people, you must say hell no to that. He can't bring you no way. Look at all the young people that he met in 1995. Ask them where they are today. Go and look at them. Some of them want to beat their mother and their father out of their house now. Because they're 40, 45, and 50, still living with their mother and their father. And you have to drop it just so. Waiting for their mother and father to dead to take the house. Some of them can't even wait. They're fed up. And that is the country that old nastiness presided over. Change the culture of our people. I say this without fear of contradiction. The People's Revolutionary Government was the single administration in Grenada's 50 years of independence that was on the right track to shore up our independence. They came closest to fulfilling the needs of the Grenadian man and woman through education, skills training, agriculture, healthcare, and the whole 9 yards. A fact that cannot be disputed, even by the haters of the revolution. All of this in the absence of the Westminster-style constitution that has been engineered to transfer us from one level of dependency to another. Interestingly, they did all of this to encrypt in the minds of the conscious true north development in just 4.5 years. Imagine another administration in power from 1995 to 2022 for the most part. And I always like to explain this because the truth is they were in power from 1995 to 2022 because that 2008 to 2013 period, you realize they were in power still, even though they were not in office. And that is why a lot of us who are standing in the gap today will see to it that that old nastiness never remains in power during this Deacon Mitchell tenure. All the saboteurs in the various government ministries must go. You could stay if you don't sabotage. But if you intend to sabotage, you have to go, and we will see to it that you go. Because we're going to start calling names, you know, so we know what you're doing. We know what you're doing. You see, folks, we see the accomplishments of the old nastiness for all this period cannot come close to that of the People's Revolutionary Government for just 4.5 years. All they have to boast of is a nation of poor and vulnerable. They turn many people into their active customers as if to establish, as I said, a vote farm. So keep them dunce and poor, and they will think they are cherished and liked and taken care of. So every election, they could vote for the old nastiness and his brigands. And so more of the same could continue. This thing vexing, you know. I tell you, if I were anywhere around the precincts of power, I will single-handedly round them up and bring them in the market and give them make sure they get a public flogging. These people should be flogged weekly, all of them. You want to know what baffles me and defies common sense altogether? That seemingly sensible people could be seen still identifying with and will even defend this expired, inferior leadership construct. All one can say to this is, wow, the old nastiness will take win every time for consistency. He has been emitting dust from his proverbial bag of coals perpetually, and yet for all, people went back for seconds, thirds, fourths, fifths, lined up again for a sixth, you know. Thank God people woke up and said enough is enough of this old nastiness. That people could still be shocked over any of this inherently inferior man's public utterances shocks me to the core, as they could not have been paying attention to him and his consistently low-life behavior in public office over the years, when all he has been is a consistent nastiness from youth to now. Stop wasting your shock, folks. It has never been difficult for me to deal with him, especially when I found out early that he just ain't good. So when I tell you he ain't good, and he ain't good long, you think his joke I'm making? How could such a destructive individual, not just of the many human beings he relegated to the quadrant of poor and vulnerable, but of the nation's affairs by virtue of his utterances against the police force, which he all but rendered useless by his inferior command of them for such an extended period. But you know what? He dig in horrors that it could be repaired, and that it is being repaired so quickly. So his job is to come to see if he could mash it up, maiming the entire public service, as he sought to put in place plenty wrong pegs in square holes and vice versa, thus making it a hot mess today with all his saboteurs in place, reducing many in the middle class to poor and vulnerable and destitute, just to keep his vote farm alive and his chances of being in power with his brigands through their nasty habit to voting for them. Folks, paid no attention to upgrading education, ignoring health care for all totally, while he could afford to travel to wherever to look after his health, and just behaving in a totally lawless manner while at the helm of government. Could you imagine this same old nastiness wants to hold regular press conferences in an effort to place doubt in the minds of his dunce constituents that he pauperized and duncerized over the years? All this old nastiness wants to do is to mash up the same country and create mayhem so the government can fall and his vote farm could be activated again to put him back in office when it's harvest time. Folks, that vexes him bad, you know. We really need to pay attention to his strategy to distract the nation from the real issues. Folks, the real issues, the missing oil and gas files, you know, information has started to unfold. Not good. I'm not at liberty to tell you more of what I am privy to, but I can tell you something is going down, and that is precisely why he's upping the ante to make noise like Ali Bongo, make noise, with the hope that his noise will crowd out the government's findings of a messy level of corruption stemming from the oil and gas announcement made to hoodwink the poor and vulnerable vote farm members to believe the Deacon Mitchell administration is characterized by lies. Everything that old nastiness is guilty of, he's ascribing to this decent government. We who know his strategy need to stay awake to push him back in his retirement hole where he belongs, so we can truly chronicle his legacy of deceit, his legacy of lies, his legacy of corruption, and all other forms of nastiness, so he could go down in history as the most indecent Negro to ever hold office in the length and breadth of the Caribbean, and among the worst failures of leaders in the entire world. We need to bring in investigators from Scotland Yard and the FBI et al., yes, to investigate him and his shenanigans, his trickeries, his devilries, his deviltries, his tomfooleries, his corruption, and his bubble. You see, folks, because that old nastiness was hoping the Grenada shipping agents would not discover the fraud and embezzlement of the early 70s and the serious lack of integrity and good character this young nastiness back then is known for. Since way back, this now old nastiness cannot see anyone walking into a police station and surrendering. Conscience for him is not something everybody has, just because he seemingly operates with none. You see, according to some people on social media, the police should pick him up, pick up that old nastiness for questioning. As he seems to have information they should have an interest in on a number of subjects. List the subjects, and for everyone, pick him up very often and question him. If even you have to ask him the same question over and over. Pick him up, because you want to tell people that's a former prime minister behaving in this lolly drain manner, low frequency, bouncing low, trying to mash up the place just because he can't be the captain. Huh? I tell you, we need to stay awake and beat him back in his retirement hole, proverbial that is. Do not allow intractable poverty, folks, to take you over. You must break off your love affair with poverty. Let's take a break and come back with some more heat. You make it no joke, you know, folks. And I listen to me, I tell you, since I reached this age, all you thought filters had gone before, worse now. Remember, I tell you, you know, when I leave home, I go on point, back home. I accept no invitations. I go nowhere. Not interested. I'm too old to make new friends. So not interested. So it's just fire and heat. You vex your face. Too bad for you.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
Join us, Grenada, as we continue to promote a legacy of excellence through the Pure Grenada Excellence Champion Training Program. Over 1,000 Grenadians have been trained. Food, transportation, service industries, and other frontline workers who don't want to miss out on this one. Learn more at www.puregrenada.com/excellence champion or call GTA head office at 440-2001. Remember, excellence begins with me. Excellence ends with all our.
Training sessions will resume on mainland Grenada from 9th to 13th October and 23rd to 27th October, and November 6th to 10th and 20th to 24th, 2023, in this year of transformation for service in Grenada. I am Eddie Frederick, a proud partner to this GTA Pure Grenada Excellence Champion Program. Get registered and come on in. You'll never think the same again.
We represent 4-7 Trap.
hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops with other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, wonderful, folks. Let's get right back into it because we're going on overdrive here, as is to be expected because things are a little bit hot. Good. Welcome back. Of course, hit the share button because you know every segment has its its heat. Hit the share button, and of course, even when we're finished and we're done, keep sharing it because it's about time these people that love to be called these career poor and vulnerable, and dunce people and bebes need to either shake them into some sort. You know, I've always believed some people, the only how they can change is through shock treatment. You have to treat them as if they're crazy. You give them shock treatment. You know, when crazy people think and they're really bad, you have to shock them. Shock treatment. You have to give it to them. You vex all your business. When we hear all sorts of revelations, folks, regarding how he and his brigands ran the affairs of our country, as permitted by many of all you who sat and remained silent, always fretting over those few like me who were bringing researched information to you. You continued to ignore the facts. No wonder this old nastiness started treating the nation's affairs as if they were his personal fiefdom. Are you surprised that today, with all the revelations that have come out thus far, and the many more to come from just about every ministry, that the old nastiness has taken in front to hold briefings, accusing the NDC administration led by a decent and successful corporate lawyer, the decent Mitchell, of lying? Oh, Gid. You know, we used to say years ago, he ain't come. He ain't ready yet. You see why some key senior public service operatives are hell-bent on sabotaging the new administration's agenda? All who want to be loyal to the old nastiness, you better be careful what you wish for, as it is going down this time. We will see who is lying and who is not, with all the bombshells to be revealed. The old nastiness is so crafty in his deceit that he started to take in front to come up with all sorts of accusations against the police, saying policemen leaving in droves, when in truth and in fact, most of them are leaving because they've reached the retirement age, a policy that is always enforced by the police at the level of constable to sergeant, and the public service from the rank of inspector up. You see, please note that the one or two others who are leaving is because of how that old nastiness politicized the force, and they saw no chance of them making any progress up the ranks, and they sought employment elsewhere. So they left. Could you imagine this old nastiness pelting unfounded salvos at our police's crime-solving results? Who is this old nastiness to talk about this new government being a fetting government, when he promised his vote farm, the poor and vulnerable, to fet Thursday, fet Friday, fet Saturday, fet Sunday, if they had put them back in office on June 23rd, 2022. All you pay this old nastiness no mind, with all the host of other rubbish he is spouting in an effort to distract from all that is to come. This old nastiness needs to know that the oil and gas files that are misplaced will show him and his lieutenant up for who they are. Many of you will see for yourselves that I have been correct to characterize him and his group of able drakes as the old nastiness and his brigands. Folks, this is truly vexing. All this time, absolutely no progress as an independent nation on its way to mark 50 years. Could you imagine two known frauds can attempt to come in the public domain to attempt to distract this nation that has finally started to pay attention? One of them is alleged to be meeting with the internal opposition to the old nastiness late in the night at a government property with two women, all this time while posing with the old nastiness publicly. What a double crosser. No wonder people like that have to buy their daily meals at gas station snackets and at eateries, because people like that generally can't see their way. The level of nastiness committed against this nation by these miscreants have to haunt them to the point where they cannot gee nor woe, because karma has taken up residence with them. You see, it is always said, when you are digging a pit for your victim, you should consciously dig too. Look at how the tables have turned, and people are starting to see them for who they have been all this while. Folks, the playbook is the same. One thing you cannot doubt about the old nastiness is his consistency. His consistency at lying and his tendencies towards every and anything that is geared to deceive. In other words, inherence in dishonesty. Anyone with an ounce of ability to discern can just watch the old nastiness and see that he is truly an ugly spirit. Not just the physical features alone, but deep down in his soul, you can see the vibration and high frequency of his ugliness. Why does he appear to want to come back in office? It's clear that being in power offers him immunity, and therefore he cannot afford to not be protected from all his transgressions while in office. We must demand that the police make every effort to start picking him up for questioning, treating him as the ordinary brigand of a citizen that he truly is, and one who we as a people had absolutely no right to have ever given the chances he was given to ever preside over our affairs. Folks, if you have any doubt, let me remove them. I feel strongly that this old nastiness must be relegated to the hall of shame. I recall telling you, he has been the chief lawbreaker and the lowest caliber of human being we could have ever taken a chance to elect to office in this country. You see, what a crying shame. Yet for all, some of you want to have a problem with me referring to him only by his correct name. That old nastiness. He ain't good and he ain't good long. What a pity many of you with the tendency to get ahead at any cost were blinded by your desire for material gains, set out to enable this old nastiness and his brigands over the years. See some of you today. You are as washed up as he is. With all your gains, you cannot enjoy it. The one or two of you that I would meet up with from time to time, you cannot even face me properly. Fuss, you are ashamed that I can see straight through you. You see, shallow and empty, but full of ill-gotten gains. The same curse that has started to take the old nastiness must fall on all of you who helped rape and pillage this country. Time, which is usually the enemy and the best friend, will deal with all of you. And my prayer is that many of us will live long enough to witness you being absorbed by karma too. Too many Grenadians put a premium on the acquisition of money and other materials as the true symbol of happiness, and they tend to idolize and even envy people that they perceive to have. Well, you must stop that. Stop it. peace has always been the real happiness we should seek, not material or money. Peace. Ask the old nastiness if he is at peace. The answer is obvious, no. He cannot be at peace with himself. Why? A liar has no memory. You notice every lie, everything he come up with. This is affecting government. You could find something from he himself to undo what he's accusing them of. It's sad, eh? A liar has no memory. You see, he has to always be remembering his last lie to keep covering his tracks. And that is why everything he accuses the Deacon Mitchell administration of, there is a clip with his own mouth showing you who is the perpetrator of the said thing. The old nastiness with all that he's perceived to have accumulated over the years is not a happy man. He cannot be. Remember, a liar has no memory, you know. So he can't remember his lies. And that is his life. That is his character trait. Just a compulsive liar. So you could imagine he lying down home sleeping. And he lie down there, he's sleeping, and he had to jump up. Because one of them lie haunting him. Haunting him. I wonder if so and so know that they lie, boy. Lord, anyhow, let me plan what I go tell her when I see her. Well, that's rubbish. You could live like that. You could never be a happy man because a guilty conscience fears the midnight knocking. He jumpy as hell. The oil and gas investigation announced by the Governor General he appointed, who has been retained by the Deacon Mitchell administration, has him busy. He knows the ins and outs of his own dealings and cannot be peaceful at this late stage in his political career and personal life. Isn't that sad? The most suited website for the old nastiness is indeed wrongthings.com. All I ask you, who just started to pay attention and who may have refused to in the past, trust me on this one. The only name aptly suitable for this con of a man is the old nastiness. Could you imagine some of the operatives who had wonderful opportunities to help arrest the frolic of this old nastiness over the years and who remained totally silent when decent public workers were relegated to the back and even sent packing without their due, are today standing by to protect known saboteurs just because they hate the successful corporate lawyer who used to beat them up in the court when they came with rubbish to the court on the industrial front. They don't care who their actions appear to directly favor, just as long as they destroy the nation's chances of proceeding without the old nastiness. You see, I saw a Lazarus Joseph in a response he must have felt compelled to make. Quote, he says, listening to the president of the PWU on the state of health services being the worst it has ever been, and I wonder where he was when the previous administration in their own deliberate judgment closed the state-subsidized nursing program, which for years provided a stream of well-trained nurses to meet the demand and excess capacity for those wishing for greener pastures. Union leaders were silent. All of a sudden, we are seeing the impact of a stroke of madness and myopic thinking. One of the root causes of our problems in the health sector is the adequacy of professionals, particularly nurses. Where there is no vision, the people perish. Unquote. I must add here, for emphasis, that the nations of the world that have been making real progress have been nations that have been known to make sacrifices and gave up some things they deemed necessary in order to get some things they prioritized as better. The result? Higher standard of living and quality of life. Ask the Scandinavians of Finland, Denmark, Norway, Sweden. Ask the Indians of India, still a developing country, but its economy is now stronger than its former colonial masters. Ask the Chinese, who are having 5 and 6 year and 10-year plans to reduce poverty in their country. How many people, and it's hundreds of millions of people, that they have removed from below the poverty line, but they had to make sacrifices. Ask the Japanese, ask the Singaporeans, just to name a few. I recall telling you that our democratic constitution, fashioned along Westminster style, is out of timing and out of step with our very culture. The British ensured that they gave it to us with all its provisos to keep us in a truly colonized mental mode. Even though they loosened the grasp that they had on us politically, we showed an interest in delinking from the white man being driven by a black man and waited on by us blacks to replace that whole charade with a black man surrounded by the same colonial architecture, except that from 1995 to 2022, for the most part, we chose the lowest of lows to place in that position. Are you surprised that we are where we are today, 50 years on as an independent nation? We have become people who are not prepared to give up anything, and so we wallow in deep mess. And we like it so, while we chant, "Tell them it's so we day." Poverty has become so ingrained in us that many of our people feel so they have to live. The PRG was the only administration that got it right. Suspend the goddamn Westminster-style constitution and proceed in the interest of our real model of meaningful people development. I see somebody asking recently on social media, where this thing come from where we do not celebrate our leaders? My immediate response to that is, how check bring itself, so you give it blue. And so, if you are a thief, you must not be celebrated as no goddamn leader. Your transgressions must be chronicled and shared as regularly as I would, so people know not to celebrate you, whoever you may be. I remind you that the amended and upgraded version of the biography of a thief is still to come. It will be epic. Those of you who supported, enabled, and accommodated that crap that passed itself off as government over the period 1995 to 2022, for the most part, you ought to hang your heads in shame for aiding and abetting the rape and pillage of this innocent nation and retarding its collective prosperity for your personal gain. Hey, I'm in, I'm out, and I'm gone. Thanks for joining. Continue to share. See you next week, God willing, for regular programming. Until then, stay safe, stay well, remain lifted. I'm sure you had a good time today. Come on, say amen to that. Let me see you. It's all good. Take wonderful care of your great selves, folks.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Welcome to Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy. For too long now, our generally perceived poorly educated electorate have fallen victim to the cheap and inferior propaganda of those seeking to hold others captive under the guise of democracy. Gladly, The CDGG uses edification to help to actively pursue a sustainable approach to reorient our people towards the importance of electing and selecting people of good character to public life. Through edification, we will highlight the importance of education appropriate to our development, proper health care and facilities as our right, respect for law and order, not to mention upgrading our people's thinking so they could become qualified participants in the democratic process to their advantage. After all, Grenada's national constitution makes allowances for the ideal of free men to enjoy freedom from fear and want, which can be best achieved if conditions are created whereby everyone may enjoy his economic, social and political, civil and cultural rights.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Join us, Grenada, as we continue to promote a legacy of excellence through the Pure Grenada Excellence Champion Training Program. Over 1,000 Grenadians have been trained. Food, transportation, service industries, and other frontline workers don't want to miss out on this one. Learn more at www.puregrenada.com/excellence champion or call GTA head office at 440-2001. Remember, excellence begins with me. Excellence ends with all our represent for 7
Training sessions will resume on mainland Grenada from 9th to 13th October and 23rd to 27th October, and November 6th to 10th and 20th to 24th, 2023, in this year of transformation for service in Grenada. I am Eddie Frederick, a proud partner to this GTA Pure Grenada Excellence Champion Program. Get registered and come on in. You'll never think the same again.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation.